Welcome back, geographers. South Asia's physical features. South Asia is a subcontinent, a geographically unique part of a larger continent. India is the largest country in the region of South Asia. The other 6 countries are Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. 3 mountain ranges form South Asia's northern border. They are the Hindu Kush, the Karakoram, and the Himalaya. The Himalaya range includes Mount Everest. At 29,028 feet, 8,848 meters, it is the highest mountain in the world. The mountain ranges were created by plate tectonics. They form a physical barrier. Invaders and traders could enter through only a few openings, such as the Khyber Pass between Afghanistan and Pakistan. 3 major rivers begin in the mountain ranges. They are the Indus, the Ganges, and the Brahmaputra. The Indus flows southward through Pakistan to the Arabian Sea. The Ganges and Brahmaputra flow east and southeast to the Bay of Bengal. They cross a vast plains area. 1/10 of the world's people live in the alluvial plain created by the Ganges River. This is an area of fertile soil deposited by floodwaters. It is the world's longest alluvial plain. The Brahmaputra and the Ganges come together and form the largest delta on Earth. Deltas are places where rivers deposit soil at the mouth of a river. This delta is one of the most fertile farming regions in the world. Mountains and rivers also dominate the central and southern parts of South Asia. They separate India physically and culturally into northern and southern parts. Much of southern India is the high, flat Deccan Plateau. 2 low mountain ranges, the Western and Eastern Ghats, form its edges. A narrow, fertile coastal plain lies between each mountain range and the seacoast. Sri Lanka and Maldives are the 2 island countries of South Asia. Sri Lanka lies off the southeastern tip of India. Maldives lies southwest of India's tip. It is made up of numerous islands. Many of them are small, ring-shaped islands called atolls. South Asia's climates. About half of South Asia has a tropical climate. Much of the northern half enjoys a warm, temperate climate. There are cool highlands in the north and scorching deserts to the west. Much of the region's climate is a result of seasonal wind patterns called monsoons. Little or no rain falls for 8 months of the year. In May and early June, temperatures soar, causing the wind direction to change. Winds from the Indian Ocean bring heavy rains and flooding. Without the monsoons, the region could not grow enough food for its people. However, the floods also damage property and cause loss of life. Large, swirling storms called cyclones often slam into the coast along the Bay of Bengal. The strong winds push water onto the shore, flooding low-lying areas far inland. A cyclone can kill tens of thousands of people. River deltas are especially vulnerable. Much of South Asia has a tropical wet, dry climate. As a result of monsoon wind patterns, there are just 3 seasons: hot, cool, and wet. The hot and cool seasons are dry. Tropical wet climates get plenty of rain all year. They can be found along the western coast of India, southern Sri Lanka, and the Ganges Delta in Bangladesh. They have thick, green vegetation. Not all of South Asia is drenched by monsoons. Parts of the Deccan Plateau get little rain because the Western Ghats block the winds and rains of the monsoons. The region's driest climate is in the northwest. The Thar Desert lies between Pakistan and India. Vegetation is mostly low, thorny trees and dry grasses. The mountains to the north affect the climate of lower areas. In winter, the Himalaya block cold winds sweeping down from Central Asia. This forms a temperate zone across Nepal, Bhutan, northern Bangladesh, and northeastern India. Farther south, the elevation of the Deccan Plateau creates another temperate climate area. South Asia's natural resources. South Asians rely on rivers for irrigation, drinking and household water, and transportation. Fast-flowing rivers can also be used to generate electricity. Rivers are considered sacred in Hinduism, the main religion in India. India has most of South Asia's mineral resources. Nepal and Sri Lanka also have mineral resources. Iron ore, manganese, and chromite are used to make steel. Mica is a rock used to manufacture electrical equipment. Graphite is the lead used in pencils. It is also used in batteries and as a lubricant. There are important petroleum reserves in northern Pakistan and near the Ganges Delta, as well as in the Arabian Sea west of Mumbai. Overall, though, South Asia depends on imported oil. There are natural gas fields in southern Pakistan and in Bangladesh. India has uranium in the Eastern Ghats. This uranium is used in the country's nuclear power plants. Valuable timber resources include teak, sal, and sandalwood. However, forests are more than just resources for wood products. They take in carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, and release oxygen. Tree roots hold soil in place, reducing erosion. Indian forests are home to 3 of Earth's most endangered species: the tiger, the Asian elephant, and the one-horned rhinoceros. South Asians are working to reverse some of the region's wildlife losses. The creation of wildlife reserves and laws controlling hunting and logging have started to make a difference. Early South Asia. One of the oldest known civilizations was located near the Indus River. Called the Indus Valley Civilization, it dates back to 3500 BC. It formed at about the same time as other river valley civilizations around the world. Archaeologists have discovered 2 large cities and dozens of smaller settlements. The people of this culture left written records. Most were farmers, but crafts also flourished. Evidence shows that people traded over long distances. The Indus Valley culture lasted about 1,000 years. No one knows why it ended. Natural disasters or enemy invasions are possible causes. About 1500 BC, the Aryans swept into what is now India. They probably came from Russia or Central Asia. Once in India, they settled down to become farmers. The Aryan civilization lasted about 1,000 years. It left behind 2 important legacies. One legacy was the caste system, shown below. Castes were social classes. At the top were priests, called Brahmins. At the bottom were laborers and peasants. The caste system had a deep impact for thousands of years and caused great inequality. People born into a lower class could not move up in society. Only after India won independence in 1947 was the caste system outlawed. The second major legacy of the Aryans was literary. They composed long, poetic texts called Vedas in the ancient Sanskrit language. Sanskrit is the parent of modern Hindi, one of the major languages of modern India. Sanskrit also influenced the development of ancient Greek and Latin. The Vedas were religious hymns handed down orally for centuries before being written down. The Rig Veda probably took shape around 1200 BC. It is a series of hymns honoring Aryan gods. The hymns are full of imagery and philosophical ideas. This poem laid the foundation for the growth of Hinduism. Hinduism is a way of life with no founder, no holy book, and no central core of beliefs. Hindus pay respect to the Vedas and take part in religious rituals. Hindus believe in reincarnation, or the rebirth of the soul in another body. Around 500 BC, 2 new religions arose in response to Hinduism and the caste system. One was Jainism, based on the Hindu principle of non-injury. Jains turned from farming to trade so they would not have to kill or injure any living creature. The other new religion was founded by a prince named Siddhartha Gautama. He gave up his wealthy lifestyle and traveled in poverty, seeking spiritual truth. When he reached his goal, he became known as the Buddha, or the Enlightened One. He passed on what he believed to be the 4 noble truths. Like the Jains, Buddhists largely rejected the caste system. Today, Hinduism remains the major religion of India. Buddhism has spread to other Asian countries, while Jainism remains a minor religion in India. Around 200 years after the Aryan civilization faded, the Mauryas conquered much of South Asia. Their most famous ruler was Ashoka. He was a warrior who turned to non-violence after converting to Buddhism around 260 BC. His conversion influenced many people. Trade and culture thrived under his rule. Hundreds of years later, The Gupta Empire unified much of northern India. Under Chandragupta I, science, medicine, mathematics, and the arts flourished. Gupta scholars developed the decimal system in mathematics that we still use today. During the 1500s and 1600s, the Mughal Empire flowered in India. The Mughals were Muslim and the first rulers to be members of a minority religion. During this era, many South Asians converted to Islam. Some of the Mughals were tolerant. Akbar the Great encouraged freedom of religion. Culture, science, and the arts flourished under the Mughals. A Mughal emperor, Shah Jahan, built the Taj Mahal, an architectural monument in memory of his beloved wife. Modern South Asia. Beginning in the 1600s, British traders established settlements in India. As the Mughal Empire declined, the traders became more powerful in the region. The British were especially interested in textiles, timber, and tea. After a bloody rebellion in 1857, the British government took direct control of most of South Asia. India became a British colony. Although the British built railways, schools, and ports, the Indians resented a foreign presence in their land. In the late 1800s, an independence movement began. In 1885, Indian supporters of independence formed the Indian National Congress. But the British did not want to give up the Raj, as their imperialist rule of India was called. The National Congress responded by encouraging a boycott, refusing to buy or use imported British goods. In the early 1900s, two members of the Congress became leaders. Mohandas K. Gandhi was opposed to violence. His most powerful weapon was civil disobedience, or non-violent resistance, to British rule. He was joined by a younger leader, Jawaharlal Nehru. Together, they finally persuaded the British to leave South Asia in 1947. South Asia has been troubled by religious and cultural divisions between Hindus and Muslims. As part of the independence settlement, the subcontinent was split into two countries. India was mainly Hindu. Pakistan was mainly Muslim. Tensions between the two countries developed. They have fought several wars and are involved in a dispute over the Kashmir region. In the late 1990s, both countries developed nuclear weapons. This nuclear proliferation, or spread of powerful atomic weapons, could make conflict between the two nations dangerous. People and places. South Asia is about half the size of the lower 48 states of the United States, but more than 1.5 billion people live there. That is about 5 times the American population. The largest countries, in area and population, are India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh. India is the world's second most populous country, after China. However, the birth rate in India is higher than in China. This means that by 2030, India will be the world's most populous country. South Asians live mainly in areas that are good for farming. A high percentage of Indians live in the Ganges Plain. Agriculture plays a major role in India's economy. About 7 of every 10 people live in small villages. However, more and more Indians leave their villages every year. Indian cities are experiencing rapid growth. The country's business center, Mumbai, has about 20 million people. It is India's largest city and the 4th largest city in the world. Population density is the number of people living in a given unit of area. In Mumbai, the population density is 80,100 per square mile, 30,900 per square kilometer, 7 times the world's average. The rapid growth of South Asia has put a strain on its resources. Cities struggle to provide essential services, and air and water pollution have increased with overcrowding. People and cultures. The cultures of South Asia are highly diverse. We think of the United States as a melting pot. The same might be said of South Asia. India has 2 official languages, Hindi and English. However, 15 other languages are each spoken by millions of people. After India won independence in 1947, boundaries of Indian states were based mainly on ethnic groups and languages. Indians are proud of their ethnic and language heritage. The most common languages in Pakistan are Urdu and English. Urdu, like Hindi, developed from ancient Sanskrit. In Bangladesh, people speak Bangla, a version of Indian Bengali. Most people in Sri Lanka speak Sinhalese, which has its own alphabet. Two great epic poems of ancient India, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, embody Hindu social and religious values. South Asian children of all religions know the plots and characters of these epics. The region is also a center for classical dance. Music is a thriving art. Ravi Shankar is probably India's best-known musician. He plays the sitar, a stringed instrument. Motion pictures arrived in India in 1896. The country now has the world's largest film industry. 6 main religions are practiced in South Asia. Sikhism developed in the 1500s, nearly 2,000 years after Buddhism and Jainism. It was also a reaction to Hinduism. Sikhs reject the Hindu caste system. Like Muslims and Christians, they are monotheists. They believe in only one God. Life in South Asia centers on the family. Often, several generations of family members live together. Within the family, age and gender play important roles. Elders are respected, and females are often subordinate to males. Arranged marriages are still common, but less so than in the past. Parents often introduce couples to each other but allow them to decide for themselves whether to marry. It is still important for couples to get approval to marry from their parents. A typical South Asian meal would include rice, legumes, and flatbreads. A combination of spices called curry flavors many dishes. People in South Asia do not eat much meat, partly because of religious guidelines. Issues in South Asia. Many South Asians are farmers, but good cropland is scarce. How do South Asian farmers grow enough food for the huge population? The Green Revolution has helped increase crop yields. It involves the use of irrigation, fertilizers, and high-yielding crops. With these improvements, India has not had to import food since the 1970s. This situation may change, though. These methods are no longer increasing productivity enough to meet the growing need for food. Some South Asians make a living from mining or fishing. Others own or work for cottage industries. These are small businesses that employ people in their homes. They include textile weaving, making jewelry and furniture, and wood carving. Advanced technology is a fast-growing part of the economy. Indian computer specialists, engineers, and software designers are in demand throughout the world. Another part of the economy is ecotourism, which combines recreational travel and environmental awareness. Because English is so widely spoken in India, the country is well suited for outsourcing. This occurs when a company hires another company or an individual outside their home territory to do work. Companies in the United States often outsource to other countries where workers are more flexible or willing to work for lower wages. South Asia faces many challenges. One is the long-standing conflict between India and Pakistan over Kashmir. 2 of India's prime ministers have been assassinated in recent decades. Both were killed by extremists who opposed their views. Another issue in India is the oppression of Dalits, the so-called untouchables. For centuries, they have been discriminated against as outcasts. In Sri Lanka, a civil war between Buddhists and Hindus lasted several decades and cost more than 60,000 lives. In Nepal, a rebel group has been trying since 1996 to overthrow the democratic government. Tribal people control large parts of the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Rapid growth and lack of infrastructure have led to air and water pollution in many parts of the region. Deforestation is also a problem. Most of India's forests have been cut down. Water quality, wildlife habitats, and climate have been affected as a result. South Asia has had some success in meeting these challenges. The war in Sri Lanka is over. India has taken strict measures to control air and water pollution. Wildlife conservation efforts have increased as well.